Welcome to Working Dogs and Whiskey. Join Sean White and Jonathan Moses as they pour a glass and dive into insightful and fun conversations about dogs in all their incredible roles. So grab your favorite drink and let's raise a glass to great stories, laughs, and a whole lot of dog talk.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Working Dogs and Whiskey. I'm Sean White, and I'm sitting here with my friend, co-host Jonathan Moses. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Eric Stanbro. Eric, how are you, man?
I'm doing really good, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
No, we're glad you're able to make time and come on. And for those that may or may not be familiar with Eric, Eric's the host for Working Dog Radio, retired law enforcement handler, trainer. Pretty much has done everything known to man when it comes to dogs. Owner of his own pet training business, Ridgeside, Ohio. And then, now a current author, man. So I think you've touched just about everything unless you want to get in the lab and scientists and all that good stuff. It's been around for a while and he's willing to offer some advice on everything from working dogs to business and everything else. And I'm sorry, John, I got overexcited to have him on the episode. How are you, dude?
No, I'm good, man. I say chilling, enjoying the day off. Really excited to be here. Like you said, Eric, like we were talking right before you came online. I think you guys got started in 2018, 2019 with the podcast?
Yeah, February 2018, I'm pretty sure is when we launched. 16 or 18, man. It's been a minute. I think it was 18, but yeah.
Yeah, I graduated high school May of 2018, and
Jesus,
I listened to like every episode you put out. You guys are like the first podcast, like you said, and I just started listening to it nonstop. I still listen to it all the time. So
that was pretty passive aggressive of you just now.
Right.
I appreciate it though.
I'm like, dude, we get it, John. You're young as fuck. Like, congrats.
It's funny. So I started in police work in 1993. I got my first shooting in 99 and guys would talk shit. And I'm like, dude, I was shooting dudes when you were a fucking sophomore in high school. What are you talking about? Take your shit somewhere else.
Oh, man.
And then I went, oh, that just makes me sound really old. That's all.
Yeah, Eric, I'm not going to lie. I was born in 93, brother. So. Oh, man, that's wild.
It just means you got a lot of experience.
You got a lot to offer now.
Right. Sure. Whatever you say. But no, it's, that's a thing. I was telling somebody this the other day. I'm 56. I just turned 56 a couple of weeks ago. I do jujitsu 3-4 times a week. I'm training dogs all the time. I am pretty active quite a bit. I live at a lake and I ski and all kinds of stuff like that. And I don't feel old, actually. I look old. I just don't feel old. I'm a little slow, and getting going a little bit here and there. But once I'm moving, I go to CrossFit a couple nights a week and it's one of those things, man. If you, people are like, oh, I'm old. What? Sitting on the couch waiting to die ain't it. You know what I mean? That's just not going to be it for me. So I decoyed today. I threw a suit on a little bit and I'm just going to continue to do that. Some of the stuff is a young man's game, I think, like the running and gunning on the street and everything like that I did. I don't know the last time I sprinted. Oh, you ever see those videos of couples that have never seen each other sprint?
Yeah.
I run, I jog a little bit here and there. That would be the only thing, man. If somebody took off running from me, like I had to run, well, I don't know what that would look like. I may have to try that.
Yeah. Depends on why they're running. You may have to just draw your gun and keep going.
Yeah. I used to be fast, dude. When I was young, when I got in the department, when I got up until probably in my 40s, I was fast. Like I could run. Now I'm like a anvil trying to run down the street.
I will say the very first time I came to see you at the Funhouse, I think last December or the December before, that was my first time meeting you in person. My first thought was like, oh my God, this dude jacked. You can't tell on the podcast, but dude, you're in good shape.
Well, thank you. I try to be. I appreciate it. I probably eat a little bit too much, but it's all right. I got weights to push, so
that's good. So, Eric, while we're already on the subject of the past, let's go ahead and get your origin story out the way, man. I know you do a podcast, and people probably know it, but for those that aren't familiar with how you got into dogs and everything. just kind of lay that out for us, please.
Yeah, I started, like I said, in police work in 93. I was working some small departments. Then I got in 96, I got on Canton, Ohio, which is where I grew up, as the department that I worked at and then retired from. I remember getting on the department and we had, at the time, only like 3 or 4 dogs. They had 12 and then they were down to 3 or 4 and then they were up and down and things like that. And I was like, man, I wanted SWAT and I wanted dogs, right? And I want to do both of those. And so I'm on there for a while and I think I tried out once and I passed the trial, but seniority wise, I was too far down. And then I got in the dope unit in 2001, and that put the canine on hold. There was another tryout or two while I was in there, and so other guys were getting on. I was doing the undercover, but I did get on SWAT. I started SWAT 97, and I was on that for almost 15 years, dogs and stuff on there. But anyways, I've come out of the dope unit in 2005. A couple openings come up for canine, try out, get selected. It was several months before class started, before we got dog and everything. So I was just working the street. And actually, in that few months before class, I got into an incident with a guy who was a naked dude. He was like 6'1", 6'2", 280. He was completely naked. Got into a fight with him and he died. I got up we were done. I got up, got him on a backboard, hooked him up. The hospital was like 4 blocks away. He didn't even make it. He was like 108 degrees. Basically his heart exploded and his brain melted, and they called it excited delirium. There's a new term for it now, but so I was off on administrative leave for that entire summer. As a matter of fact, when I went to select our dog, I was off on administrative leave. I still went. I got really good at wakeboarding that summer. I wakeboarded every single day that it wasn't raining, and it was a stressful summer. Came around, we selected the dog for me, and that's a whole nother story we can get into, but got the dog. So then I went through canine school that September and then never looked back. Back then our school was like 16 weeks and, or maybe 14 weeks. And then I stayed in and I worked to several dogs. I became the trainer. The trainer retired. So at the time, it was a full-time job. You only trained dogs. You did dogs and firearms. So that trainer's name is Gary. Gary retired. They picked me to be the next trainer. It was like end of 2010. I became the head trainer and stayed there as the trainer until I retired. Took a leave of absence for a few months and went and trained dogs for the Navy SEALs out on the West Coast. Came back in as the head trainer. And when I retired in November of 18, I was, that's it, dogs. That's all I did was dogs and guns. And by that point, I wasn't working a dog. As the head trainer, you just train dogs. So it was a pretty good gig. Before I retired, I started a business called Van S Canine. It's the working dog side of my company. And in 2020, started Ridgeside. So I had started doing pets prior to that a little bit. But in 2020, I started Ridgeside Canine, Ohio, just so I could, because of advertising and people being confused on, are you doing police dogs or are you doing pet dogs? I got a franchise from my buddy Aaron Taylor, owns Ridgeside Canine. And so I got the franchise for Ridgeside Canine, Ohio. So I have that side that does the pets, and I have the Van S side that does working dogs, seminars and training and stuff like that.
Man, no, that's a hell of a career. So going from, I want to talk a little bit about, because you run your own handler's course now currently, right? Yeah. So I want to take it back a little bit versus the stuff that you learned coming into it in the early 2000s, going into handler's course, and then what you teach now. Like, are there things that you learned from then that you still use or you've done away with? What has that shaped your handler's course now?
Yeah. If you came through my class when I was at the police department, so say you were a handler in like 2016, 17, and you worked that dog 7-8 years, and now you're ready to come to me for a new dog, the experience is going to be completely different. The training style is going to be completely different. The way we're doing it, the things that we're teaching are going to be completely different. If you went through the class with me as a handler in 2005 and then came through class in 2011, it's completely different. And then from 2011 to 13 is different. I have changed literally everything. The only thing that I still do, from what I learned as a new handler and learned from other people, was the way I teach tracking. Now I've tweaked it and I've added some things and stuff, but the way I do tracking, I still teach pretty much the same way as back then because we had incredible results. And so why argue with it? The biggest thing that I've changed is the way I teach obedience. That's the number one thing I think I changed. It went from a yank and crank style to food-based and, the understanding the concepts of pressure on, pressure off and things like that. But it's complete. And I give credit to a lot of things. My being baptized in 2019 is a big part of it. But when you come through my class, I used to yell all the time and just go off on and just get pissed. And I can still get angry, but guys now come through my class going, when's he going to yell at me? I really screwed that up. When am I getting yelled at? And guys that help me with the class go, man, it's not like that so much anymore. I mean, I can get frustrated. You can tell if I'm continuously telling you the same thing over and over. I had this kid, Jordan, that was working for me, and Jordan's a state trooper, and he was an interdiction trooper, but he didn't have a dog. So he was working at evenings. And so he would work with me all during the day, and we were training green dogs from green to finish, getting green dogs ready to sell as green dogs and things like that. He probably did 30 dogs with me from start to finish. And then he got a dog and at the State Highway Patrol in Ohio, that's a day shift job. So I don't really get to see Jordan much anymore. But he doesn't really get mad. Like, he can get frustrated or he doesn't get angry. So there were a couple guys, man, that made it through my class because of Jordan. But I would start getting super frustrated and super kind of starting to get pissy. And he would tell me, and he was right, man. He's like, you got to remember, you've handled 17,000 leashes. This guy's had this dog for 3 weeks. And my counter argument was, I am crystal clear to what I'm talking about. Absolutely. I grabbed the dog. I showed him. But he's like, yeah, that doesn't matter for some folks. Time is what matters. I'm like, all right, you work with him then. There's two dudes that passed class only because of Jordan. He got him through it because he just had, and I've taken some of that from him. He has just a calmer way of thinking, if that makes sense. And so now I might shake my head at somebody and you suck, but no more yelling. So that's a big difference. Huge difference, actually.
No, hell yeah, dude. John, I'm going to let you hop in because I know you have some questions too. If not, it'll just be Eric and I talk.
All right. So quick question I had for you. So you're probably the first guest we've had on, and the answer may change when I ask you soon. But you said you guys had canine tryouts. Everyone else we've talked to, it's pretty much been get in the suit, get bit, a little bit of hazing. What did your tryouts consist of? Just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so the tryouts were, and they're probably pretty much the same. There was a PT stuff, like you had to run. There was a mile. That was it. Not a mile and a half, but just a mile. But dude, you had like 9 minutes. Like you had 9.5 minutes. It was crazy. You had forever. And then it was pull-ups. And that failed most guys, was the pull-ups. And there was only 3, not many, but only 3. But dudes would come there thinking they're just going to gut that out. And unless you're just a naturally strong person, if you don't do pull-ups, you can't do pull-ups. You guys understand difference of guys that you could tell have never lifted, but can do pull-ups to their nipples and do 50 of them like nothing. And then guys that have to really, really work at it, right? There was sit-ups, and then there was, you had to carry this like 50-pound bag of sand, 100 yards, 50 yards down, 50 yards back, place it at a 6-foot-high platform. Dude, over the years, they used that same bag. That thing turned into Quickcrete. It was not 50 pounds. When we got rid of that thing, it was probably 95 pounds of pure rock. But so that was it. And then there was an interview process. Like you had to own a home or be buying a home because that came from dudes that, were living in an apartment with a canine. The canine was living in the car because they were hiding that from everybody, or they moved in with their girl, just dumb stuff. And so they had a thing where you had to have a spousal approval, or if you lived with a female, or if you're a female, you live with a male, you had to have spousal approval. They kind of even quit that part. They quit asking. That came from somewhere, I'm sure. One of the guys' wives like, I don't want this damn dog, but I kind of stopped that because I didn't really care. If you want this and you want this job, it's not your wife's dog. She has no say if you want it. And I'm just kind of a dick about that, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then it came down to seniority. Everybody that passed, and there was seniority involved. And for a while, it was when I got in, they could pick out of a certain amount of guys in seniority. And then it was straight seniority for a long time. And then I think they're back now in the contract to a little bit of flexibility.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid tryout. As far as I know in the state right now, it seems like once you pass the first initial like physical fitness assessment, like that's it. Like there is no like we re-up, we retest. It's not like the military where we have to hit a PT standard every year, which kind of surprised me. But that's a pretty solid tryout.
No,
We didn't have to. Trying to think, I was on SWAT at the same time. So in SWAT, we had a PT test to try out for SWAT, and you had to retest every year on the PT side of it. And I can't remember. I don't think we had to do that at all on K9. And it's a bid position. So once you're in for as long as you want, as long as you don't screw up.
That's awesome. Man, it sounds like they were doing it right then. At least
and they took that from somewhere. Our program started in 1985, and the original instructor, he came from DC Metro Police Department. They had, I think, 100 dogs at that time, and it's one of the buildings out at the Canine Field is named after him. Dave Gaskins was his name. So some of that probably came from them, learning. Right. He did the first 2 classes as the instructor. Like DC Metro Police let him come up here and spend 14 weeks training. I think he probably went home on the weekends, but he was there Monday through Friday for first two classes. And then one of the guys became the trainer, and it just went from there. But they probably learned some of that stuff from those guys.
Yeah. 100-dog
No,
department.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, how many dogs did you have during your law enforcement career? What were they like?
As a handler?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a weird career, dude. I had 4 dogs. It was really strange. So my first dog, they sent, and this is pretty kind of pissy and stupid, but they sent me and Chris, who's the current trainer, they sent us together. We're brand new guys to Columbus, Ohio, to this lady that they had kind of met or was getting dogs from. And up until, so this is 05, up until about, I want to say 2000, they never bought dogs. All the dogs were donated. So I always tell people, one day the dog's in the backyard tied to a tree drinking out of a hubcap. And the next day, because he's a high defense shepherd, he's in a patrol school. You know what I mean? So they got nasty. They had nasty, nasty dogs. But they managed, somehow to get some decent dogs donated to them also. So they get some good stuff going on. Because our city is very violent and there's a lot of crime, and there's really nothing for anybody there good. So it's a target-rich environment, though, for canine. So I go down to Columbus, and I get we don't know what we're doing, selecting dogs. We're new, and they sent a handler with us, and he didn't know shit either. And so they selected 2 dogs, 3-year-old female shepherd named Jean. And at that point, by the way, up until 2012. There's never been a Malinois. There was all German Shepherds. So they sent a 3-year-old shepherd named Gina that I got, and then Chris got a 11-month-old shepherd named Zeke. Zeke went on to have one of the greatest careers I've ever heard of in law enforcement. He was a dual-purpose explosive dog. He had probably 150 street bites and like 5 or 6 device finds, like actual explosive devices. And that's a whole nother thing up in our county where we're at. We find a lot of explosives for some reason. But he had a bunch. He found an explosive device at a hospital. It was a suspicious thing. He finds it. It hits on. It's a flash powder device, and then bit the guy who planted it like an hour later in the parking lot.
Hell yeah!
Because they knew who it was, and they saw him, and the guy took off running. He bit him. Well, like an amazing career, right? My dog Gina had the worst career. She. In the 3 years that I worked her, she had 70 failures, at least 70 failures to engage. The most I've ever heard of in the history of the United States canine. Have I ever heard of anyone having 70 failures? That's how busy we are in Canton. 3 years, 70 failures.
Jeez.
One right after the next. She would have been a decent Schutzen dog, because she was equipment oriented and things like that. But I don't know anything. And I'm begging for help. The handlers were trying to help me. The administration didn't care. That's a whole nother, that goes back to the story I told you about the guy who died while we were fighting. They tried to charge me with murder on that case. I was no billed at the grand jury. That didn't go anywhere, but that chief had a thing. So I believe he wanted me to get really seriously hurt because I would write emails, hey, I'm going to die with this dog. And their response was, yeah, we don't care. We're not buying another dog, not spending money, not replacing the dog. Suck it up.
Wow.
So I'm 3 years into with Gina, and there's a dog in our unit named Willie. And Willie's working with a handler named Bill, and Bill's our union vice president. Willie, at that time, his first 3 years, had 50 street bites. Or 3 or 4 years, he had 50 street bites on day shift. And so Bill becomes the union president, which is pretty much a full-time job. They're like, we need you to bid like a detective's position or something where you're at headquarters around day shift and you can handle union related issues. So he was going to, retire Willie, get rid of Willie. Willie was 5 years old. And I'm like, can I have him? I'll take Willie. And they're like, yeah, I guess, because there's no money, no, you don't have to buy it. So I retired Gina immediately. She was 6 years old. That dog lived to be 13, I think. Okay. So I get Willie and I do like a 5-week kind of familiarization course with Willie. And we come out on the road, and I worked him for 3 years, and I had 77 bites with him. So we come right out just crushing it. So at 8 years old, he still got, he ended up living, he probably could have worked 2-3 more years easily. I think he lived to about 12 or 13. They had a free dog sitting in a kennel that some lady donated or some guy donated, an all black shepherd, a free dog. They made me retire Willie to work this free dog. That's right around the time I became the head trainer. They're like, well, you better take this dog because we don't know. We had a captain who was my mortal enemy. And he's like, you might never get another dog. We might never replace that dog. So they retired Willie. Now, Willie, the deal was when he retired, he went back to live with Bill. And so he went to Bill's house. And so I got Zeus, an all black shepherd, and I hated that dog. He was all defense.
Not because he was.
And the handler, correct.
Right. I just wanted to clear that.
Not mostly. No. He was so high and deep. So the handler that they let select that dog or go screen him thought that defense and a dog at the end of the leash, that was a police dog. Yeah. Even though his dog wasn't that way. But he thought so. So I get him, and he has enough prey drive to make it through the course. And he's all defense. Scary. I mean, people were afraid of that dog. He was big and just scary looking and real snappy on his defense. And so I get him between training and working. He worked about a year, and I couldn't wait to get rid of that dog. We went to a building, a commercial building where alarms going off. And it's got that brr, brr, that big loud alarm that scared that dog so bad, man. I could barely get him to go indoors anymore after that. He sucked. I did get a couple bites with him in that year, but they were all bang, bite, let go, like a defensive dog. And then I talked him into buying a Malinois. His name was Loco. And I worked Loco until I left for the Navy SEAL program. And I had a good time with Loco. He ended up going to another handler when I went to the SEAL program. When I came back, he finished with that handler and retired. So I worked 4 dogs, but none of them more than 3 years. It was a really weird career when it came to handling dogs that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many?
So it was a 45-minute answer to how many dogs did you work?
No, I mean, you got the career for it, man. You might as well talk about it.
No, I'm over here listening, just taking it all in. How many bites did you get in total between the 4 dogs?
Probably like 90, around there, something like that.
Jeez.
Again, dude, when I came out of the 5-week class with Willie, they put me on the gang task force for 89 days, and with an edict to clean up the street corner boys. Canton's is big enough that we have a gang problem, small enough that we can handle the gang problem. Like, we control corners. There's no standing on corners where we're at. And so there was just all these problems, and they cut us loose. And I had, I think, 26 or 27 bites in the first 89 days with him.
Jesus.
And we were just rolling up, jumping out. Whoever ran, disorderly conduct, you're under arrest. Boom, bite him for resisting arrest.
Too easy.
Yeah. No, it was piece of cake. Don't run.
Wow.
Word spread, and guys kind of stopped running. But yeah, so it was probably, yeah, I'm gonna say about 90. About,
Man, I think if we combined every dog in the department I'm at right now, they wouldn't touch 90. Not even close. That's insane.
yeah, there's been several dogs at Canton that had over 100. Just that one dog. So I told you about Zeke. There was another dog named Armin. He had every bit of 175. Every bit of that. He probably had 30 at Walmart.
Is Canton still like that?
Yeah. They're not getting, so with the climate, the political climate, the way it is,
Right.
they've gotten a lot more particular about it.
Mhm.
We were biting misdemeanants, and we were biting just anybody, and copper thieves and all kinds of everybody. But now they're like, they haven't said felony only or anything like that, but they're sticking with the serious offense type stuff, and because it's in the policy and everything. So they're still getting some, but not like it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I want to put a pin right there because I did listen to I think it's the last episode you put out on Working Dog Radio, and one of the things that you were talking about as far as being like on the different committees rather for policy change and all that. And so I wanted you to kind of talk about that because I think we talk a lot about training. We speak about, just different stories like you just shared about different bites, fines and good stuff. And I think as handlers, we all kind of get that. But the big effects is like the things that we, as knuckle dragging dog handlers don't want to deal with, which is the political climate, and kind of just speak on like what's going on and some of the changes that you've seen and things that you predict that are to come.
Yeah, so one of the biggest ones that everybody panicked on was when, like, say for Ohio went medical marijuana and then completely recreational marijuana. All these agencies just panicked and dumped all their marijuana dogs. But now there's a couple court cases specifically in Ohio that says, no, you don't have to do that. And I told everybody, don't panic, stop. There's other states that have gone through this. That was one of the first real big changes is on that stuff. And then it just, when I was there, still, I don't think I was a handler anymore. We changed our policy and started using a company called Lexipol. Lexipol is a company that makes policies that a lot of departments around the country use. And they put in updates based off of court cases, and they're always on top of that stuff. It's a little wordy at times. I think you're able to go in there and alter it and change the things in there to fit you. Like if they have a boat policy and you don't have a boat, you can get rid of that, just things like that. But the use of force part when it comes to canine is just Graham versus Connor. That's never changed. That was
right
when I was there. That is what it is now. And surprisingly, you'd be surprised how many dudes don't know what that actually is that are in law enforcement. A lot of supervisors are really bad about understanding case law. Some of them are really horrendous and shouldn't be supervisors, but I have a deep dislike for administrations. So they just asked, like for Canton, is be a little bit more discerning, just a little bit more. It's just, and it all come from George Floyd, that George Floyd stuff, when all that stuff started happening, and that just kind of changed the outlook of stuff. Body cameras didn't change anything for the Canton canine guys. We were doing it right. I never had any bites that were like egregious. I didn't have any bites that were non-criminals, We had some accidental like bit cops and stuff like that. But yeah, I think some places panicked and went too far the wrong way,
Right.
And it's like, if I'm right to be there and the bite is a good bite, it's a good bite. It doesn't matter. Some places are trying to treat canine if they're higher level of force than they are. There's some places that are trying to say the canines are lethal force, which the United States Supreme Court says, no, it is not lethal force. It's also not the same as a verbal threatening of a guy. There is force involved in it, but most places that changed their canine policy went way too far.
Yeah. So, and what about as far as like use of force and everything else? Like, I guess from my understanding, because the military is a lot different. Like, we don't get bites, we don't get a lot of that. Our stuff is really oriented around detection. Like, that's our bread and butter. Like, our dogs are primarily a psychological deterrent, for the most part. We train bite work, obviously, to whatever we can do. But now I know for like us, like we had a recent incident where they were talking about getting rid of choke chains because it was like a kid in the handler's horse got caught misusing it and it went to the wrong person, et cetera, et cetera. And then now there was like, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, everybody's like blowing it out of proportion. They're like, oh, we can't use this now and all that. Are you seeing some of that on the police side? Like, or is there anything on e-collars or different changes and tools that from what you've seen?
I think the e-collars are becoming more and more acceptable, are
Okay.
being used. There's people like me, I travel the country doing e-collar seminars. My job when I do the seminars is not to teach people the benefits of e-collar. It's these people are already using the e-collar. It's been approved. Some of them are brand new to it when I start. So e-collar is getting more widely accepted as it should be. So one of the biggest mistakes I think the military makes is they don't use e-collars for most. The special operations guys do. And then the Army had that PED program, which I'm told they're getting rid of if they haven't already.
Gone.
Getting rid of the e-collar type dogs, the off-leash e-collar dogs. So as far as that stuff goes, when I got in 2005, we had one prong collar and one e-collar. And I talk about this all the time. We called it the prong collar and the e-collar. And we were a choke chain unit, right? And now I don't advocate choke chains at all, period. Not because they're bad, because I just don't think they're that good. I would rather use a prong collar. But the prong collar use in law enforcement is widely misunderstood. They think that it's used for the hardest corrections. You're supposed to baseball grip back, wham on that out and hammer them into the heel position, when actually that's not what it's used for at all. And if you use it and understand the concept of pressure, it becomes the hardest ass police dog. You got 2 fingers on the leash, right? And I work it in my seminars where I show guys how to clear some things up, and they're constantly on those choke chains, constantly hammering on the dog to get, because the dog's forging too much. And it's like, if just give me a minute here, like 2 minutes with a prong collar, and I'll just show you and make your life so much easier. On the pet side of my business, every dog from puppy all the way through gets a prong collar. We call it the easy button. Any person of any size, age, or gender can walk any dog with 2 fingers on the leash with a prong collar, as long as the dog understands and you understand pressure. So the tools are getting more widespread. Still, the collar thing is the prong versus choke chains, and it's usually because guys don't really know, and it's how you come up. If you come up through an agency that's always been choke chains and there's just no change, well, that's what you know. And some dogs are great on a choke chains, right? That's just because that's that dog. But in Ohio, for example, on our state certification, there was a kind of a loophole where you could use a e-collar, but if the evaluator said no, you couldn't, right? Because they had their own agenda. But we're changing the state of Ohio's certification. I'm on a subject matter expert board for that in Ohio. We just got the changes approved last Tuesday. They won't go into effect till July next year, but e-collars, it can be used, and you have no say as the evaluator. Nice. You cannot say no. The guy's wearing the e-collar on the street. He's going to wear and use the e-collar on his certification. The certification is a baseline minimum standard. We're not out here trying to make this, graduation from MARSOC with your dog. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and the guys that were so against the e-collar over the years, their dogs probably sucked. They're like, I don't need no e-collar. Oh, really? Because I watched you say out 14 times. What do you mean you didn't need an e-collar? But it's just one of the biggest downfalls of our industry is stuff like you talked about, what I learned and what I changed and what I kept. And I kept almost nothing from what I learned, because the stuff from the 70s and the 80s has been proven there's better ways to do it. Absolutely better ways to do it. So evolving with equipment, I'm seeing, social media changed everything, right? The access to information, I think, is, when it comes to dog training, isn't the worst. Guys can see something, go, let me try that. How do you think, my book sells 10 copies a day. I travel 2 weeks out of every month, sometimes more, all over the United States teaching e-collar seminars. And it's because of social media and my show, Right. And then when I go there, show them good results, and it's never harsh, ever, what we do. I didn't used to be that way. We used to just rip dogs' skulls off, right? But now I'm like, I actually like dogs. What am I doing?
Yeah. No, dude. I mean, you hit it on the point. Like, there has to be an evolution in training, and like, you can't hold and stay married to to everything that you learned in the beginning. I mean, everything evolves at some point. And I think that's a big thing with, like you mentioned, with social media. People are like really quick to attack like the downfalls of social media, which don't get me wrong, there are. Like there's a lot of people that are just putting themselves out there that shouldn't be. But then you have the other side of it where it allows opportunity for education. And I think that's it's one of those things you have to take with the good and the bad. I mean, everything has its pros and cons.
Well, the thing too is where you got to be careful is, social media is really good. You can learn a lot of stuff, but some people are just trying to be influencers. They don't actually train dogs. So you gotta kind of watch and pick and see what kind of horse crap are they showing. It looks cool. It worked on that dog, but is it repeatable? Is it sustainable? Is it something that will work, or is it a gimmick, right? Is it just because he doesn't want to train dogs anymore? He just wants to make money off of influencing. I say he, I'm not speaking of anybody specific, but I'm not, but you have to watch. Yeah. You have to watch. And people are like, oh, the new latest thing. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe whatever that thing is considered the new latest, greatest, but I bet it isn't latest. I bet it's something that's been around for a while. And maybe it works for that dog. I tell guys when you come to my class or in a conference that I'm teaching at, what I'm talking about, I might not be talking to you. Like maybe you don't have the problems I'm talking about, but I guarantee you know somebody who does. And I see the guy's elbowing. That's you. You suck. That's you. You got, or hey, that's that guy. I get a lot of that. I went home. I didn't need that, but I went home and that dog that we've had all these problems with, we fixed it with that thing. So I tell people, don't do latest and greatest. Go check it out. Don't watch it online. I think you should go see it. And maybe it works for you. Maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, maybe you'll pick up something. That's my thing is give me something. I'll go to a 2-day thing. And if I get 1 or 2 things out of it, I'm fine. I'm not going to change my entire process, but I got something for sure.
Yeah. Eric, something I wanted to ask you too, just as we're kind of going through your evolution in canine. So you talk about the 4 dogs you handled in your law enforcement career. Mm-hmm. Going into the Van Ness canine side of things, where you started training police dogs and running your courses, how many dogs were you putting your hands on a year and for how long? Just to give people some background on that.
So I was 30 to 50 dogs a year were coming through the kennel. I only had 7 kennels, so I was very small. And it was just me and then Jordan when Jordan was helping me. I had 20 employees on the pet side and just me on the working dog side. And that can grind on you a little bit. But 30 to 1 year, I sold 70. A lot of those were green dogs, but I started offering a thing called Green Plus, which was imprinted on odor. I'm a box guy, I use boxes, just imprinted on odor. A dog could run all the odors on a 4-box series, sit at each other, all of them. Introduced to tracking, started in obedience where you could walk at a heel, maybe not off leash, but a nice little easy, get you started, and a verbal out off the bite. Nice. Dude, if you're a kennel guy and you have green dogs and they have a verbal out, you'll sell that dog every single time they come look at them. So they would be introduced to a suit. They'd be on a suit. So they weren't green at all, actually, but Green Plus, and I added like $1,000 onto it. That's the thing, when you're training dogs and you have a kennel and you're training something, you cannot put a hourly rate. Because that you're never even coming close to getting that back. Well, I got 6,000 hours. Well, you can wipe your ass with that. The dog's $8,500. You know what I mean? Whatever. So that helped sell a lot of dogs. So I was selling a lot of green dogs, but then I was doing 4 or 5 handler schools a year with 2 to 5 dogs in them. I was very busy, very, very. And then still after that, going over to the pet facility and helping with that.
Yeah. All right, so you were touching a lot of dogs for a long time then. More than most people their whole career.
In my seminars, my e-collar seminars, I'm over almost 1,200 dogs in that now that have been through, that I've touched, that we're coming through those classes. So I definitely touch a lot. Yeah.
That's wild. How many e-collar seminars have you done?
I'm trying to think. So for a while, the seminar I was doing was scenario-based training. So I was doing a shit ton of those with 20 to 30 dogs in those. And then I started focusing in on the e-collar part. I don't even know, man, two seminars a month since like 01. Like this month, what are we in, August? Yeah, 2. I leave next week for Wisconsin. I'm doing 1. September, I only have 1. I have 4 in October, 4 in November. I think I'm taking December off, and some of that too is that people want to come see the podcast Monkey and see what I listen to all your shows. you're shorter than I thought. I'm like, thanks.
Hey, dude, you're a little bit bigger than they thought, though. You're pretty muscular. I told you got him.
Sweet.
No, that's awesome. So you definitely don't see a whole lot of people with that much experience. 1,200 dogs is insane. Just on the
cram that in 4 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You probably never
But
get
like,
a break.
there's guys like Jeff Meyer, who runs the Colorado Canine Conference. He's been doing an e-collar class long enough. He's probably at 5,000, 6,000 dogs through his e-collar seminars. Like, that's wild to think about, how many. Some guys have really been doing it, man, for a long time.
Yeah. Would you say e-collar is probably where you see the greatest benefit with new canine handlers or canine handlers across the board right now, just the applications of it, if they're taught the right way?
Yeah, I think so. That, and one of the things I do in my seminars that I think is a lost art, we really got to focus on, is leash handling.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are really bad at it. Some guys are really, really bad at it. And it's crazy. Some of it is they're just they were never an athlete, and they don't have good hand-eye, and they can't, the dog goes one way and feed the leash behind their back and just understand the finesse and the nuance of sliding the leash out and climbing back up. And I really focus on my, so day one of my seminar, after we do the PowerPoint, we're doing relayering the collar using negative reinforcement, relayering the collar over all the commands. And I make them use a long line, but I make them hold the remote in the same hand as the long line, so they can use food. And dude, I always tell people it's like watching a monkey trying to fuck a football, trying to get these guys to handle. And I'm like, you're a professional. Like, you're supposed to be able to handle a 20-foot leash, and you cannot. So they're death gripping it, and there's a lot of inadvertent corrections, and so I would love to see somebody going around traveling around the country teaching seminars on leash management, leash holding. Guys like to get that dog off leash. And the co-host of my podcast, Ted, says, he has a great line that I've been using for years, is leashes are so important, there's cave paintings of them. And he has a picture, a cave painting picture of a leash that predates the wheel. That's how long they've been around and how important leashes are. And we are terrible at using them, especially when it comes to tracking. So that's one of my biggest focus things is using the e-collar, realizing that you don't have to smash dogs on 127 on a dog truck. And what it does is, if it's done right and you understand the concept of it, it actually makes training enjoyable. Because I know some guys got problem dogs, and going to training is kind of nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
And so we're trying to change that relationship with those guys. Because I tell everybody, man, you're the subject matter expert of your dog, at least your dog. Yeah. The whole dumb end of the leash joke that we've been told and we've heard, and they probably talk about that in the military too, that you're the dumb end of the leash. That can't be. That can't be. It isn't the dog that testifies. It isn't the dog that gets sued. It isn't the dog that has to make critical life or death situations. It's you. And we got to start thinking that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of leash handling and just kind of where you're seeing the handlers lacking, it feels like on social media now, as I kind of go back to that a little bit, that there's a lot more sport people, and it's becoming a lot more prevalent, and you're seeing a lot more dog training on it. Do you think there's anything for canine handlers to take away from sport trainers, or kind of some of what they're seeing, or any overlap?
Well, first of all, if you have a sport club in your area, so say you're a police canine group and you got 10 dogs in your group or whatever, several agencies, if you think it's stupid to bring a civilian sport decoy in because he's not a cop, you're way behind. Bring that guy in. He will handle all 10 of your dogs. He'll decoy all 10 of your dogs for 20 minutes each. Give him a Gatorade and a 5-minute break here and there, and you will get some of the most fluent work and better work out of your dog. So that's super important for guys to understand. I had a guy reach out to me today. He's like, how do I get in? How do I get into these police departments, civilian? I'm like, it's tough, man. It's really, really hard. I think it's a little bit better than it used to be, but still just throwing the rookie, lining them up with that 95-pound dog to bite him is stupid. And so sport guys there, you take advantage of that. The flashy obedience, we got to be careful with that. Guys get caught up in that, But it's funny because when I took over as trainer, I did what I was taught, and I did yank and crank, and had all the same problems that I saw as a regular handler, all those same problems during class. It took at least 12 weeks to get a dog completely off leash, to do an easy certification off leash heel, because we're just yanking and cranking. We weren't using any kind of tools. We weren't using toys or anything like that. And then I started teaching, somebody taught me a focus heel, like a sport heel up
Right.
here with the toy. And that was just a cheat code to get and it worked. Dude, we had beautiful heels. The dog look at, but they start prancing and cops like, I don't want that stupid prancy. But on certification day, even the most nervous rookie can just put his fist up there and it'll bang right through that. Right. But to me, that's not a heel. That's just a competition heel. It's just a certification heel. You need to be able to heel the dog through a group of people to get to an objective or out of the objective through those people on the way back. And so you got to be careful. Like they, I don't know, they have sport guys do bring a lot to the table when it comes to obedience. I don't think like Schutzen, for example, their tracking is how I teach tracking. I'm not every footstep, but I'm a footstep type tracking guy. And our dogs have massive success on the street being taught that way. But at some point, I think we get moved past that sport tracking and we got to get into, because of surface changes and different going through buildings, different things like that. But in Europe anyways, the sport, always remember those sport genetics is what's keeping police dogs alive in the world. It's where we've been getting dogs for years and years and years. It's just that some people get mad at this, but some of you sport trainers couldn't train a regular dog at all because they're not motivated by toys or food. So I think it's easier for and police dogs are way easier than pet dogs, because they're easy and they're motivated by stuff. So police dog guys are the same. Some of them are in the beginning are terrible pet dog trainers because they've had a dog that will do whatever you want for something on a string or for a little bit of food. Right. So I do hesitate. I tell people, be cautious. Can that guy or girl repeat that stuff with a scared ass Corso, or some Dachshund or something like that?
Yeah.
These pet dogs that will never, ever, ever work for a toy, and only about 50% of them work for food. So would you learn pressure when those guys can understand that? But like the PSA guys, so like Jerry Bradshaw, 3 or 4 dogs he's taken to PS3 or PSA 3. That's crazy. That's wild. That's good training. He also trains police dog, but he knows the difference. I don't know if I answered your question, but there's
100% did. Yeah.
No, that's the point. And I kind of want to touch up on the transfer from police to pet dogs. But one of the things you brought up, Eric, definitely, I was in a course for the military. It's like our advanced trainers course, whatever you want to call it. And we were having this like kumbaya moment about, are we actually really good trainers and all that? And this is around the time when we were starting to learn about sports side and like people actually know what the fuck they're doing. And we're just kind of living in our own community. And, but one of the guys, the instructor, he was like, look, we may not be the best trainers in the world, but we take some dogs that these sport guys would never take. Like in terms of like motivation and things like that. Like they would watch the dog, and he's like, and that's why we have them. Like a lot of our dogs are rejects from sports just through the quantity of dogs that we filter through the DoD. But yeah, and then when I transferred over to doing pet dogs, that was like a huge like leap of faith. I was like, I tell John this story all the time. My first pet dog, I spent 30 days for on leash board and train, and I felt bad charging $500. But that's how nervous I was charging that, for a pet dog, because I was like, dude, these are 2 different demographics. But I'll say doing pet dogs for about 6 years now, I think that's where I've learned the most about knowing dogs. And then when you start the more tools and everything, pressure on, pressure off, e-collars and all that, I think that's where a lot of my learning for at least training obedience and behavior modification and things like that, that's where the real work comes. And then you can bring it back, circle it back to the working dog component. But I just wanted to get your take on what got you into pet dogs.
Money, to be honest with
you.
But I'll tell you, oddly enough, this is so I was at the PD. I was getting ready to retire. Maybe I just did. No, I was still at the PD. Thinking about it. I'm probably gonna retire. I'm gonna open Van Ness. I'm gonna keep Van Ness Canine. We're just gonna do police dogs and everything. And Ted and I went to Texas, and we were on Mike Ritland's podcast. And it was early on. I don't know, maybe episodes 8 or 9, early for Mike. And he was still, most of his episodes at that time were about dogs. So Ted and I go down there, and Mike and I had a good relationship. We had met and talked a lot and everything over the year or so prior to that, couple of years. We had a dog got killed in 2016 in Canton named Jethro, and in 2017 we did a huge fundraiser, and Mike came to that and was like our keynote speaker. So that's about when we met, and we're standing outside his place. I can't remember if it was before or after we recorded. He goes, "Yeah, man, I think I'm getting away from police dogs." And I said, "Are you crazy? What do you mean?" And he said, "Yeah, man, the money's in pets. I like doing the pets better." He had just finished recording he was one of the first people I knew that had a paywall, like an online training pay thing. I think it was $100 a year. And he had like, I don't know, like 14, 15 videos on it. And he's round number, 1 million dogs in the US. And we know that's significantly more than that, but it's $1 million dogs in the US. He said like 10,000 of those are police dogs. That's it. It maybe even less if we're going off round numbers. And he's like, the rest are pets, or 10,000 are police dogs. Like, it's such a small niche market, and it's overloaded with guys trying to get in that space. And Ted and I have talked about it on the podcast. I'm like, if you're, say, currently in the military and you're a trainer and you like it, if you think you're going to come out and make a really nice, good living selling police dogs and training police dogs, you're crazy. That market is taken. There is some for you to do. There's jobs for you to get, and you can make some money, but you're not going to come out and you're not going to make $200,000 a year selling police dogs when you're brand new at this point. There's too many big kennels. There's too many guys with bigger spaces already in it. And so he's like, yeah, I'm focusing on the pets. And I'm like, man, I don't know about that. Well, sure enough, I went back, and I, of course, was trying to train pets in the very beginning with like police dogs, right. That don't work. And, but quickly I just started learning from other people, going to seminars, learning from other people, reading and seeing and stuff like that, and then working a lot of dogs. And then before I know it, I have 3 trainers. Then I have 5 or 6. Then I end up with 12 trainers. I've backed off a little bit down to like 8, but it's to the point now where I don't have to do it. Like, I'm not doing board and trains myself. I help with the guys, and I do a lot of, like a closer. I'll come in and just help with a couple little things. But that's what it was. It was Ritland and pet dog business. We grew a little too fast, I think, at Ridgeside, Ohio. We went from those two trainers in like 2019 to 21 with 12. But it's a 7-figure business. And I always say God makes dogs every day, and very few of those are police dogs. So I just got a thing sent to me today by one of the Ridgeside canine owners. I'll look it up here while we're talking. And it's Jay Nix. And if you know, Jay's down in Florida. Jay's a great dude. Good trainer. From the American Pet Products Association, their total U.S. pet industry expenditures for 2025 by the end of the year should be $157 billion. It is a recession-proof business. During 2020, where everybody else was going out of business in different markets and stuff, pets exploded. You've been doing them long enough. We exploded because everybody sat at home like a weird villain with a white cat and petted their dogs into insanity. Watching Tiger King for 8 hours, talking and having entire hour-long dialogues with their dogs that made them crazy. Yep. So, and it's just, I encourage police dog trainers that want to do police dogs, and you're good at it. You will be better if you do pet dogs. You'll be better at understanding pressure. You'll be better at getting things out, because dogs have anxiety. All of them get anxiety the same ways. They all have problems. Your police dog is not a special cyborg. He's just better at other things and for other motivations. So it makes you better. And like Mike Nesbitt, you guys know Mike? Yeah.
I
Mike,
I haven't met him, but I know
tall dude.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike's a great guy. I've trained a lot and taught a lot with Mike. It's crazy that he is so successful in the police business. He's a real giant, tall black guy that looks like the Predator with his hairdo, and he's Canadian. Nobody likes Canadians. So just kidding.
Got a lot against him.
Breaking Mike. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But he will tell you, and he tells people all the time, Pet dogs afford me the ability to go to these seminars and these conferences. Pet dogs pay the bills. The passion project is the working dogs. You know what I mean? And if you do it right, you can make money on the working dog stuff. The pet dogs is going to cover when you're down on that side. You know what I mean? The pet dog stuff is sustainable. And now, like we were saying earlier, agencies panicking, and there's this whole crappy narrative called liability, where these sheriffs and these chiefs are like, we can't have a bite dog to liability. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as liability in bite dogs. Every huge federal court case is about the nose. It's always about detection and search and seizure stuff. It's never about the biting. Now, there are some agencies that have had to pay some money out, but the huge, giant settlements or big losses because of liability of bite dogs is not there, and no one can show me, cannot prove it. It does not exist. So it's a shit narrative that is passed on from one moron to another as they're moving up through the ranks. Pet dogs, that never changes. People are still getting them, still getting dogs throughout their whole life, and dogs need training, and it's always going to be there.
You brought up a good point. That COVID dog time, that was money making central for pet dog
We're
trainers.
fat with cash, buddy. Fat.
Yeah, it spoiled me. It spoiled me for sure.
I don't know, man. People had cash.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is nice.
All those
So
stimulus
checks, dude.
Mhm.
Cashing in on it. No.
I think people had.
So it's funny when you say about the $500 one. I don't think I was never $500, but our prices have gone up, have changed and changed and changed. We definitely, all of us in the beginning, undervalued ourselves.
Yeah. No, during COVID, I wasn't training dogs. I was actually learning, like watching Michael Ellis videos and all types of things. Like that was my time to learn how to even start that journey. But no, that's interesting.
John, when was it you came up to the funhouse? Was that 21, 22?
I think it was 22. I think it was like the end of 22 in December. And then I got to see you at Hits in 23, I think.
Yeah. 22, I was rocking and rolling, dude.
Yeah.
I was barely at the pet business at all. I'm lucky I have good managers that handle all that stuff. And yeah, we were going through some dogs. It was good. Good times.
How many pet dogs do you touch in a year right now? Or like business wise?
We do, I want to say 40 a month, something like that. Maybe a little bit more than that. That's at the building, 40 a month.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. About 20 and then 20. So like if you're splitting up groups throughout the time, and there's less times, but that's about where it's at. Yeah. A lot of dogs. A lot of my trainers, they're there every day doing that. They train a lot of dogs, and I'm still able to teach them some things, and I still pick up some stuff from them. But I come in there today and hopped on a bicycle and took a dog for a bike ride. Like I get to do a lot of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly what I do is go in there and they tell me what they need me to go buy. That's normally what I get.
That's where you're at. Just moved up the ladder to manager.
Yeah, to the credit card guy.
Oh, man.
Hold on one second, guys. Come here. This is my daughter, Vanessa.
A special guest.
She just
Hey,
came
Vanessa.
in.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Vanessa is graduated nursing or college in nursing, and she works at Akron Children's Hospital as a NICU nurse. And
Awesome.
she's been there about a month now, pretty much. She's working midnights. That's a new thing. She never had to work midnight, so she's doing that, but in there doing her thing with those little babies. And It's crazy, the stories to hear. We all had, through military and law enforcement, we had crazy stories and stuff. She was young. I didn't really tell her, but hearing the stories she's telling me when she's coming home, I'm like, I can't believe. And it's every shift, every shift having babies like stop breathing and just wild stuff. So
tell her we say congratulations. My son, he was actually in the NICU for the first
say congratulations.
3 months he was born. Yeah, no problem.
Really? Yeah. It's all preemies in there, right?
Yep. Yeah. He was, when he was born, his esophagus and his stomach didn't connect. So his esophagus ended in a pouch, and the bottom part of it was attached to his lungs. So they had to cut it, go and stretch it. He was in there for 3 months. I was going back and forth from the base. I had a litter of, I was working at the base as a jet engine mechanic. I had a litter of 10 German Shepherd puppies in a 1,000 square foot apartment, and I was rotating between the 3 places. So yeah, got a lot of respect for NICU nurses because they help us pull
the NICU
through.
nurses, they do it every day too, man. It's not like randomly once in a while. And when she was going through her training there, they said, "Listen, every shift your patients are going to stop breathing." I'm like, "What?" Every day.
It's wild.
And it's crazy. They don't know, like the babies don't know how to breathe sometimes, or they're eating or swallowing and then they forget, and then anyways, we'll get off topic there, but I'm really proud of her. So
No, that's awesome.
No, that's good, man. And I heard somebody say "all" in the background.
Yeah, that was her.
No, but that's I mean, this is going to be like a closing remark for me because like even now I have my son, he's 7, he's like calling me on FaceTime, he's with his mom and stuff like that. But one of the things I'll ask, like as a personal thing, this is one of the themes I'm trying to get with doing the podcast. So obviously we talk about dogs, that's great, and what we can do in that community. But like for you, like you're retired, you're doing a lot of different things, seminars, you got your hands on a lot of stuff. How do you balance that stuff out? Because I know recently you took a trip to Africa and stuff like that, but what does balance look like for you? Because I think that's a missing component for a lot of people.
The white monsters. That's how I get through everything. 5-hour energy drinks.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, right. But
Just kill yourself slowly; it'll work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Kidneys are gone, but no, it's just you just got to get up in the morning, get at it, get on your schedule, and it is tough. It's a little easier now because like my daughter's out of school. When she was in high school, it was tough because like she was a cheerleader in every sport possible and played volleyball. And it's like I want to get there. I can't get to all of them, but I'm going to get to most, right? And my wife and I joke when she's our youngest, when she graduated, no more high school football games, no more basketball games I don't care about, no more volleyball. From 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, I was a line judge for her for the home games for her volleyball. That part helps. So sometimes your kid's getting a little bit older, getting out of the sports does help, but the balance is tough. You can't sleep in. What is that? People, still young folks are like, I got up at 11. I'm like, but I haven't used an alarm in probably 10 years. 6 a.m. I'm up. Boom. 6 a.m., 6 a.m., 6 a.m. I'm not Jocko. I'm not 4:30. Screw that. Like I'm not showing you my watch on Instagram or anything like that. Yeah. But, it's just, you gotta want it. And that's all there is to it. You do like for me, I don't have a lot of recreational stuff. Jiu-jitsu is my mental health thing for me.
Yeah.
I do. Guys that don't do it, and I never knew it until I started to do it, don't understand how good it is for you mentally. But I'm a weird dude, man. I'm one of these guys that I have to have some sort of brotherhood thing in my life. Like I've been hunting and searching for it, and I usually get let down by a lot of people. But so like I was on SWAT, dude. I loved SWAT, loved it. If we were full time, I'd have left dogs and just done SWAT. Almost 15 years. Guy comes in as the commander, destroys it, ruins the brotherhood, changes it, killed it. I didn't want to be in it anymore. Getting pulled in too many directions. While I was there, was great. Like we had a good, tight group. I really thrived on that. Probably a lot like the military. And the military sometimes seems a little bit better at this than the police. When you retire, they forget about you. You're over. Like your friends, your friends at the police department, if they're still at the police department, when you retire, you will never hear from them again. So I was in a motorcycle club and that got weird. And then I was a Mason. I was a master Mason for a while. And that's, the Illuminati secret society.
Yep.
Old dudes ruined that. They ruined it. So for me, jiu-jitsu, where we go is not, I'm not like, I don't hang out with those guys afterwards, but while I'm there, there's just something about like-minded people and a group of people that I thrive on because my whole life is filled with females, wife, daughters, all my employees. Yeah. All chicks. So when I don't have that type of thing, I struggle mentally. I've got brain injury, traumatic brain injury from a motorcycle crash. I got, PTSD and all that. I would assume, I'm just guessing at that. I don't have it nearly as bad as a lot of other people, but it manifests itself in my life in anger. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of things I did, like I said, getting baptized and getting in, 19, before I got baptized, I was going to talk to the local preacher at our church. And I asked him if the New Testament was a rewrite of the Old Testament. That's how little I knew about any of that stuff. And I didn't understand, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I thought Jesus might have been a middleman. I'm like, I don't understand any of that stuff. That stuff has helped me. And people that have known me for a long time are going to listen to this and go, what? I became an ordained minister. I've done a bunch of weddings. I've done some
Nice.
baptisms. Like, so I'm constantly busy doing things, but I just figure it out. You know what I mean? Some things will throw a wrench in my life. Every once in a while, like throughout my day, they'll call me and go, "Hey, this dog just did this." I'm like, oh. Or the toilet's overflowing at the facility, or it's just some life thing. But what are you going to do, man? Like we got to do it. We just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you, I know you started something called Tap Daddy, right? For the jujitsu stuff, going around hitting different
I don't know if you
jujitsu
can see
gyms.
that there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's awesome to hear. I'm pretty similar in the same way. Like I grew up playing basketball. I played basketball year round, AAU all the way through high school. So I was with the same like 15 guys, and you get that kind of tight knit group. After that, went to the military and same thing, then started training dogs, had a pretty good group. And even now, like I still think I'm looking for something like that, because the dog sports are fun to play in, but you're out there by yourself. At the academy, like I was told multiple times, do not play basketball. Everyone tears an ACL. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not stupid. I think the third day there, I was playing basketball every day, and we got the same, like, then I talked everybody else into coming, and we played every day for 8 weeks. And I like that same kind of thing, having some kind of group mentality. But
if I go into jujitsu pissed off, I never leave pissed off, ever. And I'm getting, some days I handle myself. Sometimes I'm getting murdered. Like, I didn't even know until I got into jujitsu that I was claustrophobic. Didn't know that.
Find out real quick.
Didn't know that. Yeah, a couple real big dudes with their gis around my face. And I'm like freaking out, But and it's just, the dog world is weird. There's a lot of drama. Yeah. I've probably been a part of some of that because of my big mouth on my show, but I don't fight with people online. Yeah. I'm not getting into any of that crap. My old unit and the guys there, we don't speak, and I'm right down the street from them, which breaks my heart. Some of that is me, some of that is them. But yeah, I'm one of those guys. Like, I'll be there. Guys know I'm there for my buddies. I'm there for the guys. I'm there to help them. I'm always putting them first. I'll do whatever. I'm the first person at my training. I'm the last person at my training every day. I don't eat before anybody does. It's just kind of the way I work, and that's never changed. And it's what I tell guys, man. If you want to do this is cool, but you need to be out there doing it. You can't be lazy. Yeah. Like, there's no such thing owning a dog business of any kind where you're sitting at home. It's just, during the daytime. Well, I work from home. The fuck you do?
Yeah.
No, you don't. Even if you're training board and trains out of your house, your ass better be at Lowe's.
Yeah, I just
you gotta be doing
back.
something. You got to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
No, I just brought a dog back, and I'm like, all right, I got to go do this podcast. But yeah.
And there's one thing I want to tell you guys too. It's a kind of a little plug. Two plugs. One, if you go to Amazon and search my name, my book will come up. It's $15.
Yeah,
it's designed for Neanderthals. Like I wrote it with my foot. Like, it is so, easy to follow, right? And I did it for guys like me. If you want to learn, if you take my book and follow it paragraph by paragraph, you'll become an e-collar trainer. Like, you can train other people in e-collar and fix some of their problems. But the other thing, the thing I want to talk about Ridgeside Canine is Aaron Taylor that runs Ridgeside is a 100% disabled veteran. And he was a cop for a long time, a full-time SWAT canine cop. His business got too big and he had to leave, and he was a little disenfranchised with law enforcement. But to own a Ridgeside location, you have to be prior military, current or prior law enforcement. And like firemen, just kind of first responder, kind of that type of deal. And it's truly an opportunity for guys to become entrepreneurs in a business that they can run. We prefer it to be dog trainers, not necessarily. There's one guy who runs the business. He's not a dog trainer. He's got dog trainers for that. But those of you like coming out of the military, and you're a dog guy and you've been it, and you got a little bit of money in the bank, and you're cool for a little bit, and you're trying to figure this out, man, check out Ridgeside Canine. There's a lot of opportunity for you to thrive and do really well at it. Aaron's all about it. He's all about that mission for those guys. So it's definitely something for guys to think about when they kind of don't know,
right.
Or there's nothing worse than going to a job every day that you hate. And if you were like a dog guy, say in the military, you come out a cubicle. Are you kidding me? You think I'm going to be able to go sit in an office?
No.
No. Same thing. I got into police work, so I didn't sit in an office. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just something for guys to get out there and take a look at it. Ridgeside Canine LLC on all platforms, ridgesidecanine.com. If you want to reach out to Aaron and talk to him, he just may have something for you.
Yeah. And I want to clarify something. You don't need your own facility. He's not looking for any of that crap, right?
Mm-mm. Nope. You can, there's two ways you can do it. You can come out and get a facility if you want, or maybe you already have one and need help, right? You need, like Travis.
Yeah.
Opened up a Ridgeside up in Ashtabula. He had a thing going, but he needed a support system. So he joined Ridgeside because we've between all of us, we've done all of it. We kind of know some guys are really good at stuff that I'm not good at, and I'm good at things that some other guys need that I've taught. But when you start, you should probably just be doing it out of your house.
Exactly.
Just do board and trains, 2-3 at a time. You'll make good cash, you know, but then you got to watch. Before you know it, you got 11 dogs in your house, and your wife's like, what the hell happened? Who is that dog? You know what I mean? And then before you know it, your clients will go, could you board a dog? It's 50, I'll pay you $50 a day. Next thing you know, you can't say no. That's how you end up with a facility because you outgrow your house, right? But you can easily just do, 3 dogs at a time, 6-8 dogs a month, and make 6 figures, a nice 6-figure living. I have a couple guys that work for me that were full-time cops that quit law enforcement to work for me because they weren't making it. And now those guys are $120,000 a year. I eat ramen noodles, but they're got $120,000 a year. Those guys.
That's what I like about you, Eric. You keep it real, man.
Yeah,
they
don't have to pay Google.
Yeah.
No, we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. I mean, Eric, you already hit some of the plugs, but so I just purchased your book today, actually. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that'll be on. I should get it on Saturday. I kind of put it off because I've been taking some time away from the literature and reading other things about perspective and things like that. But anyways, but that's the first book I've purchased for dog training in quite some time. So looking forward to that. Give us a shout out of where you're going to be.
Read some business books too, man.
Yeah.
Get some Gary V and some other business books in there, man.
All right, John, don't start with this shit because he's been telling me this for years.
Because at some point, brother, you're going to be an entrepreneur and a businessman. You got to work on the business and not in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with dogs, just control your growth. Just be careful. Grow as much as you want, but just realize growth comes with overhead.
Yeah.
And I went from 3 trainers to $60,000 a month in overhead. You know what I mean? Because of facilities and insurance and all the other stuff. So slow roll that. Learn the way. And in the end, it is a business. Because what are you going to do? Be 60 years old doing board and trains? No, you're not going to. I'm 56 and I ain't doing a fucking board and train. So
yeah.
But anyways, you can find me on Instagram at Van Ness Canine. That's where I post most of my stuff. We have Ridgeside Canine Ohio on Instagram. If you're listening to this and you're a handler, especially a handler or trainer, and you follow me on Instagram and I haven't followed you back, please message me. I just get lost in the numbers, and but I try to follow people back as much as I can. Facebook, I don't do a lot on Facebook. I just share business posts. I'm not quite old enough to just be on Facebook yet, but I got 4 more years, 60 and up, then you're on Facebook. But I like Instagram. I put some things on there. The Working Dog Radio podcast comes out every other Thursday, although we were late on this last one. It was our fault, but every other Thursday comes out. Yeah, on everything. We have it on YouTube now. Working Dog Radio is on there. On our workingdogradio.com, we sell T-shirts and merch and stuff like that. We don't really push that very much. We should.
I didn't know y'all had T-shirts.
Yeah, right when Donald Trump got elected the first time, we came out with a T-shirt. It was a cartoon Malinois with his goofy hairdo, and it said "Make America Bite Again." Dude, we sold
that was y'all?
Tons of those. Yeah,
I didn't know that was y'all. Okay, I do know the shirt.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
We just brought it back.
Let's going to ask, how do I get that?
Yeah, just get on workingdogradio.com and you can order in all kinds of colors. And it got to the point where, so like Alicia, who's our partner in there, she was packaging and, getting all the orders, and we Shopify that stuff now. So,
I'll do that.
Get on there. Eric Stanbro on, it is, thank you, a bestseller on Amazon. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
People are waiting for me to do the audio book because they think I'm going to MF and cuss and everything like that. But there's no cuss words in the book. And I'm told that you can't deviate from the written word. You can
Just
add
change the
inflection
title.
and emotion. Yeah, I could do that too. Just
also the title.
e-collar without MFing conflict or something like that. Like, don't be a bitch with your dog, something like that. But, so yeah, you can add inflection and emotion, but you got to say the words as they are. They won't publish it. So this winter, I think I'm gonna do that because it's quite a process to do that.
How was it writing the book? I know we're eating your time up, but how was that?
No, it's cool. So I got lucky. What I did was I did so many of these seminars and conferences that I don't have to look at my PowerPoint. My PowerPoint in my seminars is terrible. It's just a bunch of bullet points to keep me out of rabbit holes, right? It's just to keep me going down. So all I did was I used I think if you're going to write a book, the thing that takes the longest is coming up with an outline. Well, I used my PowerPoint as the outline. Dude, I wrote the thing in less than 2 weeks. Yeah, I just wrote it like I was talking at a seminar. Boom, 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 all that stuff.
Nice.
So that's the only reason why it was easy. Otherwise, it would have taken me a year.
Okay, that makes sense. That checks out. Are you going to be at HITS next week? I think you said you're going to be somewhere else.
No,
Yeah.
I'll be in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's up there too. I think it's way up.
Yeah, but all right, Eric, man, we appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming out and just doing this with us, man. This is definitely huge, and hopefully leads to some more interaction in the future.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Is this the longest one you've done? Or
No.
What's your normal time?
I mean, we could make it, but you got to top Chad Mack.
No.
He had almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
We used to try to stick to about an hour, and we're right now about an hour and a half each time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to do, about an hour. But
well, cool. I don't know really where the whiskey part of the name comes from in your podcast because I didn't see you drink any whiskey, but whatever.
So,
I had my glass.
No, John had whiskey. I'm currently not drinking for 6 months, I think, is something like that. So
I'm
taking a break and for some medical stuff. But no, I plan on bringing it back.
Okay. All right.
With that, Eric, we'll close it out. You do drink whiskey, correct?
No, I don't. I drink beer or Captain Morgan. That's it.
Okay, so if we get you a whiskey glass, though, you can put it to use.
I'll drink out of it for sure.
Okay, that's all we need to know. All right, easy day.
Prune juice.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, we'll get your information, man, and we'll get you a glass sent out to you.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, but we appreciate it. John, if you got anything, if not, we'll wrap it up.
No, I think that about wraps up. But ask you some questions offline. As we're dragging the episode on, but definitely got a few questions for you.
I can always come back, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, I think we're going to take you up on that.
Yeah.
If anyone likes this episode at all, we'll do part 2.
Perfect.
Okay, bet. We'll do that.
This is the clip I'm posting, so at least one person will like it.
Yes,
no, I'll just go in there and like it. It's an easy deal.
Yeah, that's even easier.
Right.
It doesn't say who. All right, but yeah. Anyways, thank you, Eric. As always, if you want to find John and I, we're on primarily Instagram, Working Dogs and Whiskey. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm Sean White, letter K number 9 on Instagram, and then Jonathan, you?
Jonathan Moses K9, letter K number 9 on everything.
Easy day, and then
cool.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and that'll do it for another episode of Working Dogs and Whiskey.
Cool.